Hey friends, Peggy Hall back with you for some positive encouragement for vibrant living. We are talking about how to stop procrastinating. What are you procrastinating on today? Did you watch my part 1 of my tips for overcoming procrastination? I talked about 5 reasons why you might be procrastinating. Number 1, if you don't really know how to do what you're supposed to be doing. Number 2, if you think that it's going to take too much time. Number 3, you really don't want to do it at all. Number 4, it's not that important to you. Or number 5, it's very important to you. I gave you ideas on how to overcome all of those situations. And now I want to talk about a bonus situation. And this is something that I shared with one of my Living Swell coaching clients some years ago. And she said, Peggy, I cannot believe the insights and how much they helped me. She was procrastinating on finishing up a project where she had been learning and going after a certificate online. And there was one final project that she needed to do in order to complete her certificate. Now, all along, she had enjoyed the classes. She had been an active, participant. She had contributed. She was very engaged. She loved the material. So none of these ideas in terms of she didn't know how, that didn't apply to her. She knew the material. She was actually excited about doing the project. So that one didn't apply. I'm referring to my notes here. Would it take her too much time? No, she wasn't really concerned about time. In fact, she had been putting it off. So a lot of time had gone by already. She didn't think it would be too much time. So she said that didn't apply to her. And then number 3, did she resent it? Did she wish someone else would be doing this project? No, it was hers. She couldn't pass it on to someone else because she was going to demonstrate what she had learned. And she was actually very excited about the material and about contributing. So she thought, it's not that. I don't resent it. I don't want someone else to do it. Number 4, is it not important to her? No, it was important to her. So she didn't want to procrastinate because she thought she could just get by with not completing the project. And number 5, was it too important to her? Well, it was more of a personal accomplishment. She did not need to have this certificate in order to get a job or to go forward in her life. So according to my coaching client, she thought none of these 5 reasons that I presented and that I helped her with previously, she said, I can't put my finger on it. It's none of those. And that's where together we came to the conclusion, and this is where this is what I wanted to share with you in case it applies to you. I know that it definitely applies to me in my life, especially when it comes to the final phase of a project where things are going really well. You're really excited. Maybe you've been remodeling your home or your kitchen or your bathroom, and there's one last final thing you need to do. Maybe it is, a faucet or the hardware, and you just can't bring yourself to find it. It's not the right one. You can't get it done. Or maybe you wrote a letter to a friend and you wanted to, maybe that's not a good example. I'm thinking more of a multi-step project. And when it's coming right down to the wire, you're just not bringing yourself to finish it. Here's what I came up with. I would love to hear your comments and your insights, and let me know if this applies to you. For my coaching client who was putting off doing this final project for her certificate, when we started investigating it, it turned out that unconsciously, it wasn't in the forefront of her awareness. There was something within her that thought, once I'm done with this, I'm done. It's over. All of the fun that I had going through this certificate program and doing all of the classes and being with the other students and doing the learning and submitting my information. Once I finish it, I'm done. What am I going to do next? This was such a big part of my life. All right, let that sink in for a moment. She wasn't worried about the time. It wasn't something that she resented. It wasn't that she didn't know how to do it. She actually didn't want to finish because unknowingly, kind of unconsciously, she thought, well, what am I going to do next? Like it would be a big letdown. So she wanted that to continue. That also applies. We did remodel a kitchen in it at one time in our life, and I felt the same thing. It's like we needed to get these pendant lights for the final touches, and I could not bring myself to actually select the ones. I couldn't figure out the ones that I wanted. It was almost as if that was going to be the completion of the project. And what do I do next? That was something that we had invested in and planned for like, 20 years. And it's like, now what? That's going to be over. So that also may apply to other areas of your life where getting something done signals to you a completion or an ending. And in fact, let's look at those two words. They're different, even though they could apply to the same scenario. So if I were to think about this kitchen project as being finished, some people may say, yippee, I'm so glad that it's finished. That was a lot of time and money and effort and energy and inconvenience. I'm glad that it is done. That may be suitable for some people. Others may feel like, oh gosh, it's kind of a letdown. It was so much fun to choose these things and do the, design and so forth. So thinking in terms of a project being completed, for me, gives me a better outlook than it's finished and done and I'm leaving it behind. So thinking about it being completed, I can enjoy it. I can be in the atmosphere of what it is I created. For those of you that are working on a project, perhaps you are working on some type of educational program or certificate. Maybe you are remodeling your home or redecorating it. Maybe you're, taking your dog to obedience lessons. I'm trying to think of other examples where there is a beginning and an ending, and you don't really want it to end because you're like, what do I do next? So a couple of things. Number one, I'll just restate that. Thinking about something coming to completion that is going to have an impact on your life going forward. You're not done. You're not leaving it behind. That may not apply to every single situation, but even when I think about relationships and jobs that I've had, I can, even the jobs that were taken away from me and all of the hogwash, I can look at that with the sense of that phase had a phase and I completed that phase of that job. I don't want to feel like they kicked me out. I couldn't go back. They took that job away from me. That phase of my life ran its course and it's been completed. And I have very fond memories of my students and the things that I accomplished and everything that I experienced. I don't need to have a negative, overwhelming melancholy about it. I can look at it with a sense of gratitude that I experienced it. And now that it's completed, I can allow that to continue to have impact on my life going forward. So thinking about my coaching client that now was completing her certificate program, and the other thing I would give her, so that tip about let this have an impact on your life going forward. It's something to be that you can celebrate. And once she acknowledged her, I should say, unconscious desire to keep that going, she didn't want it to end. She was able to look at it and to approach it with that sense of completion. And then here's the next thing, is to have something else to look forward to. How could she apply what she learned? What was she going to do with this certificate? Could she have an impact on others? So think about that. If we're talking about interior design, are you going to have friends over that you can entertain? And now you can enjoy your new space. Maybe it is, something less of a long-term project for you, but you still are procrastinating simply because you don't want it to end. Think about looking at it as a sense of accomplishment, of completion, and that using that going forward in your life. Have something else to look forward to. Friends, this has had a huge impact on how I look at my projects, and not to be sort of reticent about completing something, thinking, oh, what am I going to do next? So thinking about what you want to do next and how you can continue to use what you've accomplished to have an impact going forward. Can't wait to read your comments. Thank you, everybody, for being on board with me here as we share our positive encouragement and as we look forward to smoother sailing and brighter days ahead. I know that they are out there, and I look forward to seeing you in an upcoming broadcast.